Hello everybody and welcome to art class. Today I'm going to be teaching you all how to draw a face in a realistic style. So I have my sketchbook here. I have a mechanical pencil with me. I like mechanical pencils better, but you can use a wooden pencil if you want to. So just grab some paper and a pencil. If you want to use a pen, go ahead, but you will probably enjoy being able to erase. I know I do. So let's get rocking and rolling. It's probably going to be pretty janky because I don't have a separate camera to show my sketchbook with. I would recommend for this is your first time doing this, find a mirror, like sit next to a mirror or get like a small mirror that you can hold in your hand and look at your own face as we're going through this, or look at mine, even though my hair's in the way, and that will sort of help visualize the proportions and everything that we're talking about so that we can show it. And looking at your own face is very good because then you can see the differences and you're not just drawing one blank slate every single time and you're actually putting some variety into it, because everyone's face is different. So to start off, when you're drawing, you're going to start obviously with a big circle that's going to be the base of the skull, ignoring all hair. Starting with a circle that would typically encompass the top of the head to about like right there. So like the cheekbones, not the jaw. A pretty big circle that would go around right here. And if you have a mirror next to you, you can probably see how that would work. It's just a circle. That's all you have to start with. So on the paper, let's try to get this in the best way that I can. On this page, easiest way, just form a circle a bunch of times with your hand without putting it, and then just put the pencil on the paper. And that's hard to see because I'm making very light lines. I'll have to try to not do that, but there I have a circle. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's just a guideline and you'll be erasing it soon. And then the second thing to do, as a start, I don't know if I did, draw in light lines, because the harder you press, the harder it is to draw it. Okay, I just outlined my circle, and then you're just gonna divide it down the middle. Divide it down the middle, the way that you would do in your face, because there's two sides of your face. Just draw a line all the way down from the top of that circle all the way past it. Typically double the length, not quite double the length of the circle, but that'll go down to the bottom of the chin. And it doesn't need to be a very pretty line because again, this is going to be something that's going to be erased. So something like that. Yeah, something like that from the top of your head down to the chin. Now you can do a lot of things from this point. There's a lot of different ways to sort of move on from here. I would typically draw the chin, the jawline next. That's the easiest way for me because then you get the whole round face shape for it. And it's not going to be a perfect circle. It's not going to be a perfect oval. Faces are very egg-like, depending on how, structured their faces, because some people have square jaws or sharp cheekbones, but typically you're gonna go for something that looks vaguely egg-like. So just have a basic thing like that. I would typically make the jawline a little bit sharper when I draw, but this is just a basic thing, and it's harder to do that at first. It took me a long time to be able to figure out how to do it. So you have your basic head shape. Bada bing, bada bam, you have a head shape. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to draw 3 lines horizontally across it for the eyes, and then we're going to draw one in the middle of the face. In the middle of the face. For the eyes, the bottom of the nose, and the middle of the mouth. And there is a process to this. It's easier to figure out how it goes. For the eyes, they are basically directly from the top of the head down to the chin. So you're gonna find that middle ground, roughly, doesn't need to be perfect. And you're gonna draw a line through the middle. And there's the line for the middle of the eyes. From the corners of the eyes, a line that was just drawn through them. That's how that goes. And for the bottom of the nose, then you cut it in half again for the bottom of the nose. Start from here, going down to here, cut it in half again. And you don't need to go all the way across the face for it, unless that helps you visualize it more, because the nose is very small. And then cut it in half again from the bottom of the nose to the chin for the mouth, the middle of the mouth, the line that separates your lips. And again, you don't need to go all the way across for it, because the mouth doesn't take up the entirety of the face. Now at this point I would typically draw a neck on it, because having a floating head looks weird, and if you're drawing hair, having a neck and shoulders looks fine. There isn't a set way to do it. I will typically draw necks thinner than what they would be realistically, and the shoulders just gonna go out. You don't have to, I just like doing it because it's easier to place it. So just a little something like that if you feel like it. Now, the best place to start for drawing a face after you have this template out for getting the details is the eyes, because you can base every proportion after that around the eyes. So, fun fact, for spacing the eyes, the space in between the two corners of your eyes is exactly the same length as your eyes. Like, I have to take off my glasses to do this. But the space here equal to the space here equal to that space there. Try it. It's weird. It's funny how that happens. So, the best way that I have found in order to position this to make it so that the eyes look, as symmetrical as humans' eyes do, because it's not that symmetrical, is I place dots along this eye line that mark each of the corners of the eye. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mark each of the corners. And I always start with the middle, because if I can get this distance in between the middle of the eyes, then I know how big the eyes are going to be. So it doesn't really matter how big you make them. Obviously you don't want to make them too big, because if you follow that, I used to make my eyes way too big and I would still follow that line, that proportion distance, and then I'll make everyone that I drew look like a frog. Yeah, it happens. And so what I do is you just there's not really a set size for eyes, so you just kind of have to, and you can change it if you want, just place two dots, equal distance from that middle line, and just say, yeah, that looks good. That looks like a big enough space for eyes, right? Maybe a little bit bigger. Make it a little bit bigger, put them a little bit farther apart. And then you have the inner corners of your eyes, and like magic, you can take this distance, see that, and then just place the outer corner of an eye equal distant from it. So boom, one eye. Boom, space for another eye. And that way it makes it so much easier to place them, because now you know where they're going to start and where they're going to stop. And for drawing eyes, the best way to make them look symmetrical, or at least as symmetrical as possible, is to do them one step at a time. And so you're going to be drawing, one line over here, one line over here, just one at a time. And when drawing them, they're not going to be perfect ovals. If if you're looking at your own face, if you're following along with your own face, you'll see your eyes are not perfectly circular. You're not perfectly ovular, however you pronounce it. They're not perfect ovals. And from what I've seen, in fact, if you draw almonds, it's great. If you've read any novel and you've heard the description, almond-shaped eyes, you're on the right track. Just do that, basically, and it'll be fine. So what you're gonna do is you're going to draw a half circle on top of the eye, except for you're not going to have obviously like the height of it. It's gonna be slightly off from the center. And that's hard to describe, so hold on. And you're gonna make it, you don't make them too tall, unless you want to, obviously. No one can tell you how to do art. Just something like that. You can make them rounder if you want. Just, again, do whatever the heck you feel like. And then you do the same. Yeah?
Do you want a few French fries?
No.
Okay.
Cut that out, Reagan. And then you're gonna do the same on the other side. You're gonna mirror that. And typically, the right eye that looks, one eye will always look better than the other. That's always an art thing. You'll always draw one eye better than the other. And it depends on what I think. And again, don't be afraid to erase if you want to make them look more similar. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Perfectionism. For art, often, a lot of people say don't be a perfectionist, but I'm a perfectionist, and I have improved a lot over the past few years because I refuse to let mistakes lie. Of course, that's probably unhealthy, so I don't know. And you're not really going to do the same for the bottom of the eyes, because as you can see, the bottom is a little bit flatter, and they're a little bit more of an even curve than the top of the eye. So I always start from the outside and work my way in for the bottom, because it doesn't connect perfectly with the other inner corner. See that? And you can see it falls a little bit short of that inner corner of that inner dot, and that is perfectly fine. That's actually great if they don't line up correctly, because eyes typically, that curve would stop right about there, and then it like goes into the corner of your eye for your tear ducts. And again, do that on the other side. And you're erasing those guidelines as you go along. I usually just erase what's in the eyes, not anything else. I don't know why, just in case. And then you're going to draw the eyelid creases. And they can be big or small, depending. Again, use your own face as a reference, use my face as a reference. There's an eyelid crease, and it's typically pretty even all the way along. So you're just going to put that above one eye, that, I'll put it above the other eye. And then before getting into like the iris and anything inside of the eye, I will typically do the eyebrow, and I don't really have a good way to judge where it's supposed to be. I just guess and hope that it looks good. Just putting an outline of an eyebrow where it feels natural, and doing whatever shape you need to do it as. Just like that. And they don't need to be perfectly symmetrical. None of this needs to be perfectly symmetrical, because human faces are not perfectly symmetrical, no matter how badly you want to tell yourself. Faces are not perfectly symmetrical, so if your art isn't perfectly symmetrical, it's not gonna matter. Okay, now to finish off the eyes, we're gonna get the irises, the pupils, and the eyelashes. Eyelashes are hard, so we're gonna do those last. So for irises, if you're looking at your own eyes, you can tell that the top of the iris is covered by the eyelid and the bottom is not. Top is covered by the eyelid, the bottom is not. And that's basically all you need to know. Unless the eyes are opened super wide, the top of the iris isn't typically visible. So it's going to be hidden a little bit. It's also going to be smaller than you expect, or at least smaller than I expect. Irises are always smaller than I think they should be. So I always end up drawing them big, which is fine. Also, typically, if someone is looking straight on, if they're focused on something, the irises are going to be a little bit closer to the corners of the eyes and not just sitting in the middle, unless they're just blanking out and staring in the middle distance, just completely unfocused. So it's gonna look like that. Looking cooler already, huh? And now for the eyelashes. Eyelashes took me a long time to get. You don't need to put them in, is the thing. Drawings will look fine without eyelashes. But if you're going to, just remember, if you're looking at your own face, you can notice how eyelashes, they don't typically stick straight up because they don't grow straight up. They grow out. So you're gonna see that mine are really light. You're gonna see that they go more outwards to the side instead of sticking straight up. And to demonstrate that with drawing and getting the way that they curve, it's hard. Again, don't worry too much about it. And if you want to make it look a little bit more accurate, then you're not going to draw them directly on that line for the eyes. You're going to draw them slightly above, because that's how eyelashes work. And I'm actually going to go ahead and erase this circle because we don't need it anymore, and it's just going to get in the way. Probably could have erased it a long time ago. And it's easier to draw eyelashes if you're going from the inside out. So you have one side there, looks like that, and then you can continue on the other side. And then 2 top eyelashes. Oh, we're drawing a female face, by the way. That's all I know how to draw. If you're drawing a male face, that's fine, but this is girls' camp and we're drawing our own faces, so yeah. And then the bottom eyelashes are a little bit different. Obviously, they're not as long. You cannot see mine, but they typically go more straight down than the top eyelashes. There's a slight curve to it, not too terribly much, and they're super short. So they're probably just gonna look something like that. Not quite connecting with the lines of the eyes because that's how they are. Unless you want to make them like that. Ta-da! 2 rows of eyelashes. Now that took a long time. I should probably finish the irises. Yeah, we should probably finish the irises. And yeah. Typically I'll put shines in them as from the direction of a light source. Just sort of sketching in some small circles in there for a light direction, because your eyes reflect things, they're shiny. And then the pupil is just in the center of the iris. I never know how big to make them. I never know how big to make the pupils. Just go with what feels right. A lot of art is just doing what feels right. Your intuition is much better than your brain at figuring out how things are supposed to do. Now, we move on to the nose. Now, starting with the nose, again, we have that line. This line is the bottom, or not quite the bottom for where I put them. On your nose, you have this little circle for the tip of your nose, and that is what we're going to draw. We're going to draw this circle for the tip of your nose directly on that line. And you can look at my face, look at your face. I have kind of a little bit of a bigger nose than most people. So if you're looking at your face, you can figure out where that is, and you're gonna put it on that line like that. Looks weird for now, trust me, it works. And then you're gonna continue on with the bridge of your nose that comes in, it goes in from your eyebrow, from underneath your eyebrow, in, and then connects to that little ball of your nose. Sort of goes in and out, just like this. Just like that. And then you're gonna do you're gonna do the nostrils, which typically are from sort of where that bridge connects, a little bit below where the bridge connects to the little ball, and they're just little curves. Obviously, again, look at your own nose. Pick out the curves of your nose. Little curves. And just making sort of the lines that you need to bring out this little part, little inside curves, and then making the circles to define where the nostrils, not circles, making little lines to define where the nostrils are. They look like that. You can see right there. You follow the lines of that little ball in there, and then just sort of come out into connecting them. And then you can erase whatever is in the nose area. And then you have a nose. It's cute. You can leave little faint lines in there, because sometimes that makes it look better, I found. Maybe I'm just used to seeing them that way. And now for the mouth, obviously you have this mouth line, which is the middle of it, and if you're drawing a smiling person, obviously that line is going to curve a little bit. But if you close your mouth, which I'll have to do, it's not typically a straight line. You don't really have to worry about it. And if you're trying to figure out how wide the mouth needs to be, the corners of the mouth will typically align with the center of your eyes. If you find the center of your eyes, say this is the center, and you go down, just find roughly the center, you're going to go down, boom, corner, that's the center, boom, corner. It doesn't need to be perfect. I erased the nose line. And so then you have to draw the outsides of your lips, you know, starting just like a little bit above, you have that little dip in the, starting at the top lip, you have a little dip on it. I don't know exactly what that's called. And then it just slopes down like so. You can add a little bit more curve to it depending on, you know, whose lips you're drawing. Like so. And the bottom lip is really easy because the bottom lip is basically just like a curve. There's nothing special to it. It's just a curve. And the corners of the mouth will typically be pretty tight. You don't really want them to be super big or like clunky because the lines of your mouth go out a little bit farther than where like your lips seem to go. So if you follow that rule, in drawing. For me personally, I like how it looks a little bit better, having the corners be a little bit tighter. Yeah, and then there's that. And now that we have all of that, you can erase that middle line completely. You can erase all the guidelines if you still have any left. You can erase all those guidelines, keeping the head shape, obviously, because you need that. And then there is the face, but we're not done yet because there's also hair. I would go into ears, but they're kind of, I guess, I'll go into ears in case you want to draw ears or just know where they would go. So for ears, you can't really see mine, but there are proportion tips for those too. If you are looking straight on, the top of the ear will align with the eyebrow, and the bottom of the ear will align with the bottom, like the actual bottom of the nose. And if your head is tilted, obviously that changes things. But if you're going to do that, if you kept the nose line, if you hadn't erased it, or you don't have to, if you erase it, doesn't matter because it's all looking at it. It's really hard to see. I'll draw this in first. You draw the little curve of the ear like that. Line up with, like, this is lined with the bottom of the eyebrow, this is lined with the top of the eyebrow, top of the ear, top of the eyebrow. That little fold, ending line of the eyebrow, and just go down until you get to roughly the bottom of the nose. And the ear shape doesn't have to be perfectly circular. It can be curved, like mine have a little bit of a curve in them with the more defined earlobe. Sort of like that. And then the inside of the ears are dumb. I always just simplify it by, having this line for the ear. It's hard to see with my hair. Anyway, just doing that line, and then coming down, a little bump in your ear, going back around, and then I'll just put some more lines like that. And you can do that on the other side too. I'm probably not going to because I'm lazy and this is a very long video. And now so you can do that on the other side if you want. For the hairline. Now the hairline, if you have the oval of your head, the hairline goes down from the top of your head. It's not going to start at the top. And the top of the hair is actually going to go sit over the skull, depending on how much volume the hair has. It's not going to be a lot, but it's going to be just enough. So typically, I will draw in a hairline. It can just be a circle, a half circle, just a curve depicting where it's going to go, where the hair will sit. Depending if you're going to do fancy styles, it's nice to know where it's going to be. It's going to sit down like that, and I'm just going to do some long straight hair because that's easier to draw. You can put it apart, it could be a line wherever you want it to be, and you just start, and you would just swoop all the way down. It'll typically sit, hair is weird. It's easier to figure out how to do hair if you're looking at an actual reference because it'll like sit over a forehead or do some crazy tricks because hair is weird. I'll typically put like a little curve in there, like from the top of the hairline, put a little curve to going down. And you can do the same on the other side. Since I put the ear in, I'm actually going to tuck the hair behind it so that you can see that it's there. If you have that basis down, then you go from wherever you put the part, if you put one in, and you would make a little curve up like that, a little curve over like that, and you would just sort of follow those along. Boom! And if you want to change it, if you want to make it, if you want to have more volume in the hair, if you want to add, you know, layers to it, I'm gonna make it curly. Curly hair is harder to draw, but I have curly hair, so I was able to figure it out pretty easily. You have just hair. It's often not going to be one straight line. You can erase that, you know, the hairline stuff. You can erase the top of that skull, erase that face shape, or whatever would be covered by hair. That there. Ain't that pretty? And if you're feeling it out, you just draw a bunch of lines, a bunch of stuff in the direction of the hair flow. And it would get easier as you continue doing it. Hair is often not one solid mass, so having a bunch of separate little lines often makes it look a little bit more realistic. And you can fill in the eyebrows if you want with just a bunch of tiny lines. I guess I can do that. Just a bunch of tiny lines. And there is your face. I really hope that was easy enough to follow. This is almost a 40-minute video. That took a lot longer than I thought that it was going to. But I hope that I was able to be a good teacher with this. And I also hope that if you guys had fun, we'll continue doing it. Because even if you're not happy with how it turned out right now, if this is your first time doing it, if you had fun and you want to get better at it, just practice, just do it over and over and over again. I learned this like almost 6 years ago, and now I'm able to draw stuff like this. I have been able to improve a lot. Like this was a drawing that I did maybe 2 years after I learned how to draw a face. 2 or 3. Closer to 3. I think this was 3 years after. 3 years after I learned how to draw a face, and about 3 years until now. And I did this yesterday. And if that ain't improvement, I don't know what is. And the only way to improve is to continue doing it over and over again. And just have fun with it. Art is fun, and I like it. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you are proud of yourself for sticking through this mess of a video and this mess of a tutorial. And have fun. Have fun for the rest of this week. I hope that you had fun for however what was before this. I don't know when this video is going to be placed within the week, but I hope that you take these skills and you practice them and you enjoy it. Bye!